Okay, good morning, everyone. It is 8:59, almost 9 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and get our work session going here in the BOCC chambers. If you are able to stand, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful. Okay, thank you for joining us today. I do want to start with the Oregon Cemetery adoption. And just for everyone that's here in support of this, I'm so excited to see you all. So just so you all know, during work sessions, we usually don't have public comment, but since one of you is sponsoring this, if you have one person that would like to speak on the topic, we'll have a time for them to speak. Public comment would be during an open meeting whenever we would vote to adopt or vote on this agenda item. So if you have one person that would like to speak, they're more than welcome to do so after Mr. Lopez, since this was one of your all's asks, if you will. So I do apologize for that, but we will have time during an open meeting for that. But Mr. Lopez, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, I think they're still pulling up the presentation in the back. We're getting close. All right, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Stephen Lopez, Assistant County Manager. And the item that is before you for discussion this morning is about the Oregon Cemetery. The Oregon Cemetery is an interesting cemetery in Doña County. This was brought to our attention in a combined effort by Representative Sarah Silva and by the Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group. All these fine individuals here. They have voluntarily been taking care of this location for about the last 16 years. It is located kind of in the northeast corner of the Oregon plot. This was created, there was 5 acres set aside back when Oregon was founded in the 1880s and 1885. There is no legal ownership or control of it as it sits on state of New Mexico land trust property. The state does not have an interest in maintaining this, and they do have cemeteries on state land trust land in other parts of the state. And in those locations, they have turned over control of those cemeteries to the local government. And that is kind of the idea that is being brought forward by the Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group and Representative Silva. The State Land Office, we've had just some initial contact. Representative Silva's had a lot more contact with them. They are very interested in this. They believe the mechanism will likely be a 99-year lease, which would be more than sufficient for getting us moving from where we've been. There's also an adjacent BLM parcel that also has grave sites on it. We're not sure if BLM is aware of the grave sites that are on it. There's at least a couple of marked graves without headstones. But it's obvious that there are graves there, and I'll show you a picture of one here in just a moment. So we might, if the decision of the board ultimately is to move forward with taking on this project, we may want to approach BLM to go ahead and join in providing us that section of property. And that also would allow us to create a veterans cemetery. Obviously, the Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group is very interested in a veterans cemetery because we don't have one in Las Cruces. The state is also behind this effort if we are able to take it on. One of the things that this unique site provides is the potential for a learning lab in conjunction with NMSU and others. There are not only unmarked graves, but some other challenges as well that classes, such as in anthropology, may be able to assist us in. Utilizing ground penetrating radar, we may be able to identify where there are graves that are thus so far unknown. We may also be able to utilize students or classes from the history department to perfect some of the record keeping. I will say the records thus far have been compiled by the Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group, and they've done a fantastic job in searching everything that's available online and publicly. Here is the current condition. At least per the sign, this is called the Slumbering Mountain Cemetery. I don't know that it's really, that's the name, but that is the sign that's up there. And that would certainly be something for discussion moving forward. You can see that there are a wide variety of grave sites. There are still burials that happen out there. And while oral legend has it that only people who have lived in Oregon are eligible to be buried there, we don't know that that's actually what happens, because people show up, dig a hole, and conduct a burial. Because this seems to be done through funeral homes, we've at least got some confidence that they are doing things appropriately and respectfully. But you can tell by looking at this, there's no clear delineation of where plots exist, and there are definitely some flood control challenges with arroyos running through it, and there's no fencing around it, so there are people that are driving ATVs across grave sites in some cases. So there's definitely a potential for improvement. Again, this is from the BLM land. You can tell that looks like a grave site. There's only a small little marker, or what appears to be a marker there. Now, interestingly, this marker is not installed where a headstone would be in accordance with the oral tradition of the cemetery, which is that the headstones face the mountains. This is actually facing the opposite direction. So however this burial occurred, we don't know, but it clearly wasn't done, A, on the state land that's set aside for the cemetery, nor is it in accordance with what's taken place. But it just highlights the kind of, again, the volunteers have done a great job from the Veterans Association to maintain this, but the county could certainly assist. And people ask, well, why is the county getting into the cemetery business? Well, we actually already are in the cemetery business. The county owns the Pauper Cemetery on East Griggs Avenue. That's it in the center of that photo. And directly north of that is County Fleet. Directly west of that is County Roads. And to the northwest is the county property that the joint city-county water treatment facility is located, that is taking care of that contamination plume that sits underneath Griggs Avenue. The most recent burial in this cemetery is showing as 2023 from the records that I've been able to find. But as you can tell from the condition of it, it's not marked. The graves are clearly laid out in a nice pattern, but we could probably do better here as well. We will need to assign a department formal responsibility for taking care of it. It's kind of floated over the decades. And to be perfectly honest, there are other sites in the county that may be able to benefit from this type of an effort as well moving forward. We have a number of locations, the colonias, where there were town sites set up and town site land that was dedicated for cemetery use. And there's no town site government. And so control over who gets buried and maintenance of those cemeteries is also questionable in some cases. So with, yes, sir.
Yeah, looking at this picture, which plat is it? The one with the looks like the vegetation on it?
It's this one right here, and you can see all the individual little graves.
All right. And Griggs is in the city, right?
Griggs is in the city, that is correct.
Okay. All right.
So with that, I would like to invite up people with much more knowledge and and literally a decade and a half plus of experience in this to give you a little bit more from their perspective, why they're coming forward, and allow you to ask them a little more detailed questions. So, who's going to be the person?
Okay, we have our representative. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. My name is Dan Bragg, and I'm the president of the Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group. The Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group is a 501c4 nonprofit. We take donations, and with those donations, we buy equipment or whatever we need to help the community. From what I understood, he said about 16 years. My information says that we've taken care of that particular cemetery for 11 years. And I could be wrong. But what we would like to do is to get the county to help us put a fence around it so that the ATVs quit running over the sites, get walking paths, get some booths, benches so that people can sit. We're not looking for grass like they have out on Picacho. That's just not it. It needs to stay as original as possible with minor upgrades. We've been in contact with a company, I have, and they said they were going to contact the NMSU department where we could get ground penetrating radar. It has not happened yet. I need to try and call them again, see where they're at with it. We've been doing all of the upkeep as far as keeping the weeds down, keeping the mesquite cut back, and cleaning up the graves themselves, realigning rocks, doing whatever we can, whenever we can. And we're a major part of our group is veterans. They all have disabilities. We're all getting older, and we just can't do all of the things that we used to do. So that's why we're looking to the county to come in and assist us or take over the property and do what you can, and we're going to help you. There is a part of that cemetery that has headstones from as far back as World War I. I think there's a couple further back, Don? The Civil War. So we need to maintain that place. And we need help.
I have a
So
question.
with that, I say thank you.
Dan, can I ask
Thank you.
Dan, can I ask you a question?
Sir?
Can I ask you a question? Do you want to make this just a veteran cemetery? Are there other people buried there, or do you know?
It can't be designated as just a veteran cemetery. With the addition of the 5 acres that we could get through the BLM, we would take a section of that and designate it strictly veterans.
Okay.
Because currently, there's a lot more veterans up there that we know of than there are other people, but there are other people buried up there that we don't know whether they were veterans or not. And there are graves up there that are unknown. That's why we need the ground penetrating radar. So we can run that over the land, find out. People have buried their cats and dogs up there.
Yeah.
And maybe with the addition of the 5 acres, we set aside a small portion of that for that purpose. Then we wouldn't have humans and dogs and cats all mixed together.
Should we consider doing more than 5 acres or just 5 acres?
Well, the 5-acre addition would give us a 10-acre plot total.
And how many, do you know how many people that would service? I mean, grave sites? Do you know how many grave sites that would service?
We have a map, but I did not bring it with me, designating how many are veterans.
I mean, if we're gonna go to the state for a 99-year lease, I think we might want to consider more land. You know, maybe make it 10 acres or something, or 15. I think we can get our group to look at that to see what size it should be, but 5 acres, I think, may or may not be enough. And
Okay.
if we're gonna make it designated and put a fence around it, maybe we want to go ahead and grab a few more acres now while we're doing it, so we don't have to go back and revisit it in 20 years or 25 years from now.
Okay,
So we'll look at that as well, because I think that's, I mean, for the cost, you're talking,
sure.
add another 5 acres just to fence it in and allow you guys to help maintain it and get another group to continue.
Well,
Won't be much extra cost.
The bigger it is, the more help we're gonna need, because our group is not that big. And like I say, we're all getting older. Our disabilities are really hurting us to get out there at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning and run a weed eater or move rocks and that type of stuff. So some of our members are not able to go help.
You know, if we do it as a partnership between the county and Oregon Coffee Group, Veterans Coffee, then maybe we could actually assist with some of that as well.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
I mean, that's something we have to decide, but I don't see a problem with that personally.
And we also need to upgrade the road. Currently, it's a dirt road going in, which dirt roads are fine, but it needs to be maintained. There's too much erosion on that particular road, and people have a hard time getting in and out with cars.
Yeah, we can talk about maybe making that gravel for now, at
Okay,
least, and getting some maintenance on it. Yeah, we'll talk about that as a group. But
thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
I'm in favor of doing something.
Yeah. And fun fact, my Russells, so my husband's grandmother and great grandmother are buried there.
See,
Yep. So I definitely support.
that gives you a reason to help us.
Yeah, no. Her grave marker is a mule post. So there's a mule post out there. That's where they're at. Cool. Any other questions for our presenter today? I think this is great. And if you're looking for direction from the commission, I think there's definitely an interest in this. Yeah.
Sure.
You're getting 3 nods, Stephen. So I think we're very interested in the future of this project and to see what we can do to help it along.
One thing I will tell you is that Don is probably the most knowledgeable historian for this grave site.
Wonderful.
If there's anything we can do, we'll get together with you.
I think the key here is that we decide to do it, which I think we will, based on our head nods up here. And secondly, that we keep you guys involved in the process. So I think if you have, to maybe 2 or 3 people that are willing to work closely with our team to make sure we get it right, I think that's the best thing to do.
That
Yeah.
can be arranged.
Yeah, so maybe you designate a couple people from your group, get with Stephen and our team, and we'll lay out a plan and work with the state to try to get some of that land. At least, we're not voting on it, but
Right.
I think our county manager can act on something like this without having to have the board approve it directly. But I think if we do codify it in some way with a resolution, once we get a decision on exactly what we're gonna do, I think we codify it so we can make sure it doesn't change and it's supported for the next 15, 50, 100 years or whatever.
Yeah. Well, whatever we do, we would have to come before the board for the 99-year lease for the BLM.
Yeah,
So it would definitely come back, and that's when we could have a good public discussion on this and
Thank you
see
for
the
your time.
overwhelming support. So
Mr.
thank
thank you
you,
guys for bringing it to us. We
Yeah.
appreciate
I
it.
do have a question.
Commissioner Gometos.
Yes.
I have a question. Are you guys allowing other veterans to come in? Do you have openings for them, other volunteers to come? Younger people, so then that
Certainly.
way they're
Certainly.
helping you out as well?
We certainly invite anyone that wants to join our group to come and join.
Thank you.
We meet Monday mornings at 9 o'clock
Monday mornings at night.
at the, too many people.
Okay.
at the Faith Fellowship up in Oregon. It's a church.
Thank you. I figured this would be a great opportunity to let people know that you are seeking volunteers to
Oh,
come and help.
certainly, we invite
Need all the help.
anyone and everybody that will. I'm not a veteran personally. I started with this group 4 years ago as an auxiliary volunteer. And as of yesterday, I'm the president of the group.
That's good.
So
Thank you.
Congrats.
that's how things flow. It's,
Okay,
you know,
great.
so we invite anyone that wants to join.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if you can indulge me, I'd like to ask Representative Silva if she has any other comments to add.
Yeah, of course. Representative Silva, it's great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'll be brief. One, I just want to tell the experience. So almost immediately after I was elected, one of the very first pieces of mail I got was from the Oregon Mountain Veterans Coffee Group. And they were detailing to me all the work that they had done to take care of not only the cemetery, but they do a number of things for that community. They run the Oregon Days Festival annually, just a really beautiful community that they've built out there. And then all the work and funds that they raise to rehabilitate Slumbering Mountain Cemetery. And so when I met with them earlier this summer, they gave me a whole big binder of documents, and they're like, help us figure this out. And so I went and I met with the county assessor. We didn't know who the property owner was at the time. And then we figured out, oh, it's the state. I was like, oh, that's, that's what I do. So the last time I was in Santa Fe, I scheduled a meeting with the state land office, and we talked about this plot of land, and they offered different options. And so that's why we're bringing this idea to you all. I really appreciate the support that you are communicating not only to this group, but to other veterans across the county. And then after that, we met with the Veterans Affairs Department also. And so you also have a lot of enthusiasm and support from the Veterans Affairs Department from the state of New Mexico. They said that they're willing to help understand how to bring these burial sites to code for veterans. So we've got just a ton of support for this. And so thanks so much for your time today. And know that you'll find a partner in me as we go along on this issue. Thank you.
We're definitely going to need your support working with the state. So thank you, Representative Silva.
And Mr. Chair, just one more person to talk about money on a positive note in this regard. So I'd like to bring up Jamie Michael from HHS.
Awesome, thank you.
She's got money? You got money?
Good morning, Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Department. It may or may not be related, but just some information for you all to have. As part of the county's Unclaimed Bodies program, we do pay about $11,000 a year for burial sites at St. Genevieve, because the county is responsible for the remains of bodies, people who were unclaimed. So if we're able to partner and use some of this land for the burials for people that we're responsible for, that may be just a leverage. If not, it's just good for you to know that we also do that.
Yeah, but just to clarify, I think what you're saying and what they've said too, I think we want to make sure and designate a specific area, at least 5 acres for veterans, and then take a separate plot and try to get more land for the unclaimed bodies.
If
And,
that,
so we
if
could
that
do-
makes sense, and I don't know how much land, the bodies that we're responsible for, we do cremations, so you can fit several in one plot. And just to note for everyone, if we're able to identify that someone was a veteran, we do work and get them buried in Santa Fe. And so they're part of the annual burial ceremony in Santa Fe at the Veterans.
Yeah, I think it's a great offer, and I think we should incorporate that as well. And then a follow on to that, I think we should also, as Stevens pointed out, go back and look at the other cemetery properties we have in the county and see if we can establish some sort of policy on how we can help to maintain those, or at least to make sure that they're done properly.
Great. Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, if I'm hearing and seeing nods that we should go ahead and formalize this in a resolution, work with the State Land Office on a lease, and move forward with our partnership.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate you all being here today, too.
Thank you for
so
coming.
much.
We'll look forward to you all coming back when we get that resolution going. So thank you.
If you could move your meeting to like 10 o'clock, I'd be able to get up and make those meetings instead of 9 o'clock. Thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank
a lot.
you. Okay, next up, we're going to get ready for our community center use conversation. If you guys want to get ready, and I'm going to take a 3-minute little break really quick. Community center use, and we have Justin here. Welcome, Justin.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commission. Good
morning.
County Management. Yes, I'm here to speak with you guys regarding community center rentals and activity use that we have. So in 2019, we passed a resolution, 2019-91, allowing community centers to be used for private events. Community centers, if they're rented out all 5 days, they're averaging approximately $450 a week is what we're seeing in revenue. Some of the ongoing challenges that we have with the facilities, I received a call yesterday morning actually from HHS staff. One of the facilities, our Radium Springs Community Center, where we service senior meals out of, the facility was left a mess. I had to have staff go out there in an emergency basis to go out there and clean the facility and try and get it ready for the senior meals. Unfortunately, we did not get it as cleanliness as possible, which has led to some complaints coming in. So I apologize for that, but Scott and Commissioner Sanchez may be receiving some emails or phone calls regarding that. Some of the ongoing challenges that we also face is the cost of cleaning per event. We're looking at nearly $175 per event. We're only charging $50 for these rental fees. So we're going into a deficit with every rental that we provide, and this isn't including the amount of time and effort that is put in by facility staff. We also have, again, it conflicts with a lot of county activities that we have going on with HHS and the senior meals. One of the biggest things that we've been facing here recently is damages. We've had a lot of damages here at the facilities here recently, which is not only just superficial, but now it is actually getting into damaging of walls, damaging of AC units, and damaging of doors and hardware. Another thing that we are facing is prohibited activity. In our user agreement, it clearly states that there's no alcohol to be used during events. That is clearly not followed. Unless we are going to have a chaperone here, it is hard for county to manage these activities and ongoings at the community centers. Facilities and Services is recommending that we suspend the use of community centers for private events, updating the resolution for community centers to be for public events only, updating the resolution, identifying governance, roles, and responsibilities, updating the policies and procedures manual, and implement controlled facility access. I know with this, we've had a lot of discussion internally as far as what we might be able to do, and that's in discussion with the North and South Recreation Centers is potentially having an event room or an event center. What this will do is kind of mitigate or eliminate that cross or cohabitation between county activities and an event center. So that's where I feel that we should be utilizing the community centers more for the public use and for the events and activities that are hosted by HHS. With that, I will open it up for any questions or comments. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Have we considered a private event fee? Okay, an example. Sorry, let me turn this on. Have we considered a private event fee, i.e., so if you're gonna have a private event, normally we wouldn't charge you for public events where you guys don't damage things. But if it's costing us 175 plus damage, maybe we ask you to put up $500 that will reimburse you if there's no damage and it's clean. I mean, have we tried that? Have we even thought about that? Because I don't think that was part of our 2019-91, but I would think that we might be able to do that first to try to change behavior before we go and expend the money to build another center. But as far as the conflict with HHS, if the private events are conflicting, is this because of the damage and because of the cleanliness? Then again, we might be able to prevent that just by adding an extra fee to the private events. And then if we find alcohol, we find it's dirty, I mean, we keep the money. If we don't, they get the money back. Have we even thought about that?
So we do have the deposit fee in place. I know it's been discussed about increasing that deposit. One of the things that has largely been discussed is a sizable amount as $500 or something like that. The constituents wouldn't be able to afford that deposit.
See, but if they don't do any damage, they get it back. So, I mean, this is not to say we want your money. This is to say if you act responsibly, okay, you don't lose anything. But if you act irresponsibly, then we're obligated to protect the event. We are obligated to protect other people's right to have access to it and for it to be taken care of. So we have two options. We can shut them all down altogether, which I think penalizes people who do follow policy, or we can try to make it a little more of a burden for people who are going to misbehave by increasing the fee. And I kind of lean toward the second one, which is let's just give them a fee and say, give me $200, $400, $500 worth of it costs us, and sign something that says if they do $1,000 worth of damage, we're going to go take them to court to get that as well. I mean, let's just let them know they're going to be responsible for anything that's outside the boundary of what our guidelines are.
Chair, Commissioners, good morning. If I may step in, Robert Ardetta, Director of Facilities and Services. So Commissioner Reynolds, to answer your question, we have looked at that, and we would have to amend the current resolution to look at that. But the challenges we are also having is not only the deposit, is, you know, the identifying the level of cleanliness. Everybody's perception of leaving a facility clean is different. And that's one of the challenges that we face, because we've had people, well, we cleaned it, but then when we go over there, it's not as clean as it needs to be for service of the meals program. So to police that will be very challenging. And then also to police the activity, the prohibited activity, the smoking, the drinking, after hours, all that. We don't have any staff to be able to police that on a regular basis on the weekends without, you know, adding additional staff and creating additional positions. So we have looked at that, but it's become very challenging. And then also the conflict with HHS staff. They have a yearly event where they decorate the centers for winter events that are there all December. Well, a lot of these private events, they want to bring in their own decorations, and they end up damaging a lot of the stuff that HHS staff has put up. So that is also another challenge that we face, because, you know, it just overlaps or conflicts with these other things.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't we have internet now at all the facilities?
I believe, sir, we do, but I would have to defer that to IT.
So why don't we install cameras? Okay, a handful of cameras in the areas where they're going to be holding these events, and videotape that, and then we have evidence to go back and show them that they're misbehaving. And I think that we'll actually raise the level of responsibility throughout the whole county for that. Plus, we'll protect the assets from other activity that is allowed. I mean, so I think we've got a couple more other options that are more responsible than just saying we're not going to have the events. I think we should take affirmative action to actually identify what's going on so we can show them evidence that we would stand up in court. I think it's a cheaper way to do it. I think it still serves the public. If we just take it away altogether, then we're obligated, in my opinion, to go ahead and build a facility center so that they can actually, separate from the community centers, and I don't think we're ready to do that yet.
Yes, sir. We can definitely look into that. But if I may kind of identify which events we are trying to limit or prohibit, it would be things like birthday parties, quinceañeras, weddings, those kind of things that are primarily, you know, have a lot of people gathering in there. And also, it also has affected our, the occupancy loads. We have clearly posted occupancy loads, and those are always ignored. They always tell us that they're gonna have 20 people there, but we end up seeing a couple of hundred. And that also creates fire hazard and a potential liability for the county.
Okay, so
those are
you're
the types of things that
recommending
are
we just stop
enforced.
them altogether then?
Just those private events, yes, sir.
Well, I can't get behind that, but I'm only one commissioner.
I think Jamie Michael would like to make a statement.
Well, really quick before we get into that, I think commissioners have a lot of other questions. So I have a couple issues. I can't foresee myself getting behind removing private use out of the facilities. I think that anything that is open to the, or anything that services the community, like a festival or a Veterans Day breakfast or, you know, a meeting for whatever it is, as long as it's open to the public, I think that we should be using these facilities as such. Now, for private events, I understand that there's issues there, but also we're a very rural, sprawling county, and we don't have places for people to go. So that's what these community centers are, is they're places for people to go, congregate, have these events, be with family, be with friends, because they don't have places that will hold all these people. If they don't have some kind of hall or recreational area. So I can't get behind closing the doors for private use. We can talk about, you know, other fees that we can do or something like that, but personally, I can't get behind that just because why did we put them in the first place? I also think that we need to start looking at the kitchen usage. That's one of the biggest conversations and issues that I get from people is that our contract with Adelante prohibits people from using the kitchen in centers where Adelante is providing meals. There needs to be a workaround with that. I understand that in the contract, it says that they are responsible for the kitchen equipment or any damages to kitchen equipment. Our legislators put in most of that kitchen equipment for use by the community, so we need to open that up to the community use because they're all advocating for these updated kitchens and spaces and congregated areas. So I think we need to look at that as well. Those are just a couple of my thoughts of what people have been reaching out to. You know, if someone's willing to put on a summer camp in there for kids in the community, I think that's great. We should totally let them do that. I don't think there should be a fee assessed with anything like that. But I do feel like limiting use is going to be an issue. You know, I understand the whole alcohol thing, but we also allow alcohol at the fairgrounds. So if we allow it at the fairgrounds, why wouldn't we allow it at a community center as long as they're getting the proper permits, right? Someone would have to get a picnic license that has the access to provide that beverage service there, right? And with the beverage service there, you'd have to have a security officer because that's what the New Mexico law states. So I think if we start looking at options on how to utilize these centers, I mean, we just passed a monumental go bond for quality of life. I think we should be looking at how we can utilize those funds to make sure people are able to access that where they live, right? So I think we really need to look at this. That's where I'm at right now. I think there needs to be an option because,
Sure.
yeah. Go ahead,
Oh, I'm
Commissioner Guimeros. Go ahead.
Okay. For me, I don't like the fact that there's vandalism happening in these community centers, right? And people are not being accountable for that. If the commissioners were to decide to keep these private parties going, what I would like to see for us to protect that community center is to start charging every private party the $175 cleaning fee and the deposit fee to go up for any damages, plus security that the county can provide through contract, but that individual that's creating that event has to pay for that as well. That way that security is there monitoring, making sure that there's no alcohol coming in. I think let's try to see with these type of solutions first and see if that kind of works. And if not, then we pivot again. We definitely need to, create better policy in there as well. But I think this is the only way we could kind of see, probably we would see less damage in the facility.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will definitely do, we can definitely look in that. We can revisit this with county leadership and see how we can propose a new resolution that incorporates all of these suggestions.
So I think also that you had a meeting with certain community members to discuss facility use policies. What I would definitely suggest is you utilize some of the feedback that we've had here today. I know that it's not the whole board, But I definitely have a lot of red flags with the facility uses. We advocated, our community advocated. They were very, very loud when they voted 72% to approve millions of dollars for quality of life. If we're going to be spending the money on the centers, you better believe that our people are going to be able to use it because they're the ones paying for it. So heed my warning. I'm going to fight to the death on this one. Open the centers, figure out a way to utilize them the best. If we need to rewrite the contract with Adelante to open up the kitchens for people to use, it's not like they're cooking their dinner that night. They're feeding their community. So heed the warning that I'm giving. Let's get out there in the community, talk about what needs to happen. But what these three commissioners, and I would definitely recommend that we talk to Vice Chair Chapato and Commissioner Sanchez prior to going out into the community and talking about this, because the number one phone call we get isn't roads or anything like that. It's community center usage. This is where people want to congregate. This is where they want their culture and their identity to be. And we promised them that during these Go Bond conversations. We promised them that we would invest in their community centers. We would invest in their recreational areas. We would invest in their outdoor facilities. So if we're going to do this and put our money where our mouth is, then we need to do this right. So I would definitely recommend that we talk to the other two commissioners that are missing. I'm looking at county manager. We talk to those two. We find out what their communities are needing. And then we get out into the communities and we find out exactly what they're envisioning for it. And I think this definitely goes with those conversations that we were talking about during the retreat, right? Is that we're going to go out there and say, hey, what are we visualizing for, the La Mesa Community Center? Okay, we have this, this, and this. We're wanting this. But also during those, we should say, how do you want to use your community center, right? But we have to figure this out.
Now, let me add something to that too. If we look at our Go Bonds at 140 million, and we actually pull in $1 million per facility to put an extra room so that they can have these kind of parties. So we extend it so HHS has their area, but we add another room, just for private parties or something like that. And even $1 million a piece, we're still only talking about $15 million to do something like that. That would be worst case. Best case is we should be able to figure out a way to make these facilities available as much as possible and make them responsible. Have them, if it's private parties, get them an insurance policy. If they were to put a deposit or something, we'll make it a little harder on them and make them responsible. Put up some cameras. I mean, come on. $1,000 worth of cameras or $2,000 worth of cameras inside these facilities in public spaces is not a violation of people's rights, and it helps us to protect our assets. And it also helps other people to realize that we're responsible and making other people responsible for their facility. So I'm behind getting a different solution. But let's change policy, rewrite the resolution, create an ordinance, whatever we need to do to make it work.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair, you are correct. I completely agree, and I had engaged with the community before to bring forth these types of policies, policy changes, which included, a cleaning fee, which included increased hourly rate usage, which included the requirement for security guard, which required the use of key cards so we can know who is it, and it was really not well received. There was a lot of pushback from a lot of boisterous organizations out there that absolutely did not want cameras, did not want access control. They wanted their own keys. They did not want administrative fees, anything like that. And I did bring that forward to leadership, but we will revisit it again, and we will continue down the path and organize these comments into a new policy.
But Robert, when we look at the alternatives, when you come up and you say, okay, either we don't do anything or we make it more restrictive, okay, and we make it more protecting the assets that the community is asking us to put in and to make available to them, then, people are going to say, yeah, we don't want cameras in public places. That's kind of the way public works, especially when we're responsible for your money.
Yes.
And you're paying taxes, and we're trying to make it available to everyone. We have to protect what we're putting out there for you.
Yes.
And I am sorry if you want to behave in a way that you don't want to be videotaped, then yeah, maybe you need to find another facility to go to.
I completely agree.
Okay, but as long as it's a public facility that we're responsible for and using your tax dollars to provide it, yeah, I think we're gonna have some controls that you're gonna have to abide by. And we don't want you to have to spend an extra $2,000 for the facility, but we still are responsible, make you responsible to protect what we've invested for you. And if you can't get behind that,
Yes.
I'm sorry, you know, find something else. And as Commissioner Saljo Hernandez has said, there's not a lot out there available. And if we don't do this and do it right, where are they gonna go?
I completely agree. And another challenge that I didn't bring up, and maybe Jamie would like to comment on it, was the conflict with county programs. So a lot of these are open late, and it is very difficult to have a wedding or a birthday party at a community center where HHA staff is trying to work. So that's why we're trying to restrict the hours. But again, that was was not very well received. But again, you know, we will definitely look at these, how to revamp these policies and procedures. So hopefully we can reach some sort of agreement on how we can better utilize it. But I completely agree, we need to do something. So Jamie, would you like to?
I'm going to jump in real fast before Jamie comes up. I'm in, like double Dutch waiting to jump in here. I got some thoughts on this, and I've shared, and most of you know, I worked in recreation the first 11 years of my career, managed 16 centers, fields, athletics, all of that. So I know the headaches that come with that sometimes. One of my big takeaways to my first 14 months was it's awesome. I've never worked anywhere where the community is so invested in their community centers. And as the chair said, that was reflected in the Go Bond vote. But what the staff has to balance is we have facilities that probably aren't utilized. We'll talk more about that later. Some that need to be thought of differently. And we have facilities that are used and aren't staffed. I strongly feel we should have staff representation in addition to cameras, in addition to policies at each of our facilities. In some ways, and this is no fault of Jamie, Robert, or any of these guys, even the setup we had programming done by one side of the house, the facilities and maintenance by another side of the house. So we're trying to streamline some of that naturally adversarial roles that have happened in the past and have more open dialogue. So we have the security side, the access side, and Robert's 100%. I've never seen anything like it when I got here. I just hope this is recorded. I just was blown away by the community investment. I mean, the actual community members going in and cleaning the bathrooms and things that I've only ever seen in my 5 other organizations that were done by staff. So you can't teach that level of commitment to the centers, but saying that, there's also the maintenance side. And I've seen Robert, Jamie, Justin all get beat up in the past, and some of us have even overheard of, you know, the couches or the pool sticks or different things, the chairs. It's because of some of the rental policies or lack thereof that we have in place that the actual community members that are embedded and invest in that community. So we're trying to police it, protect it, secure it, and create policies all at once. So I'm just trying to reframe and package that all. From a staffing perspective, we can have policies before you probably in 2 months, if not 3, and looking around the room to see what kind of eye rolls I get from the team as I say that. From a security standpoint, we can work with IT to make sure we have the investments, and clearly we have a funding stream coming in now for the community centers and the new rec centers we're looking to build. So I'm kind of trying to frame the picture here before Jamie comes up, but we will absolutely own our opportunities 100%. Board members, I know how badly you get beat up on some of these topics, but on some of this, we have to push back on the level of ownership where we have to have the policies in place, the security, the protections, even for their own sake. So that finding that balance is what we'll work hard on these next 2-3 months. And just want to let you know that we do take this seriously and hear you loud and clear.
That's all I can ask for.
Good morning again, Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Department. During the time that I've been with the department, we've had community centers where they were not rented for private parties, and then when they were rented for private parties, and that resolution just kind of flipped the switch, so it was all or nothing. So I appreciate that you all are talking about being more mindful. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, because there's, been good and bad with both. We have 13 buildings that are designated as community centers. 8 of those are designated as resource centers, and the county pays 8 full-time employees to do programs and activities at those 8 resource centers. And sometimes that does inherent, conflict when you're trying to do an event hall in a resource center. It would be like allowing people to rent this facility over the weekend and have big parties. You're probably going to find remnants of the party around the space. So we've made some accommodations. Monday mornings, we don't schedule any activities because we know that there's going to be a call to facilities to come in and clean on Monday mornings. But we have been, doing the best we can to work. The 8 staff that are at those community resource centers have a calendar of events. There are things happening every day, and even if it's not an event, there are people that come into the community center to get access to resources. They come in and ask about enrolling in Medicare. They come in and ask about just different resources that they need to get connected to, and our promotoras are able to do that. So last fiscal year, they documented over 40 or nearly 40,000 encounters, people of different ages coming in and out of the community center. And we conducted over 3,500 activities that were specific activities, not just the coming in and out. We do that, our staff does that, and we do it in partnership with other organizations. So those organizations do not have to rent the center. They don't have to pay. They don't have to do the rental process. If they're offering an activity or resources that are for the public good, then they come in, they partner with us. The only time that we ask for any additional information is if they are serving a vulnerable population. We ask them what their agency's background check policy is, if they're working with children specifically or working with other vulnerable populations. But most organizations just partner with us, and we have a whole variety. We have like very typical public health education about diabetes. We have sewing groups. We have GED, ESL groups. We have a whole, very broad types of activities that happen at the community center. When the county flipped that switch and allowed the private rentals, it did cause a lot of heartache and a lot of friction, primarily because we didn't have a good plan around it. It was, again, an all or nothing. We have a plan. We had someone come in and look at all of the facilities. Just the facility themselves can dictate their primary purpose. Some are not set up for private events. But I think we just need to make sure that we're understanding the difference between a private party, like an event hall, like the convention center, and a resource center. We will continue to make sure that organizations come in and provide services. Even if it's not an organization, it's just an informal group in the community that wants to come in and use the center for their meetings, kind of like neighborhood associations or different activities. As long as it is open to the public, doesn't violate any other laws that, as county property, we do allow them to come in and work with them to do that. The difficulty is the big parties that people are hosting where there's 50, 100 people. And that's where I think we need to do some work. And so my request would be, let us pause that until we have the 2 or 3 months to come back with suggestions and work through. Some of this is dictated by state law. We have to charge fair market value. So if we have some time to all get back together, work with our county manager, create those policies and bring them back to you, then I think a lot of the friction and some of the risk would be removed. So thank you.
I might add one more thing if it's okay, and that is that, we may actually have to say, look, these rec centers we're talking about in the north and the south, maybe those become our private party facilities.
Yes.
Okay? I mean, we may end up going that way, but if we're going to, or we go to some of the community centers and say, for this area where we've had a lot of private parties, we're going to expand the facility, maybe build a separate building right next to it. I mean, so we need a better plan, I guess is what I'm saying, because we don't want to prevent the access, but we also, can't afford to cut the programs that, Jamie said that are important in the community. So we have to kind of grow up our policy, and mature it into something that's going to function for this county and throw some funds at it. And that's what we have to do, get responsible. But we still have to maintain and provide as much access as possible because that's how we serve them. They really depend on us having those out there. So we've got to figure out a way to make it work.
Yes, sir.
Thank
No,
you,
I
thank you all,
completely
by the way, for really getting invested in trying to figure this thing out. Because I think it really, when you think about the face of the county for over half the people in the county, it is our community centers that are the face of the county. They don't come to this building and come up here and say, hey, I'm going to do a party here in this building. They're someplace else. So this is the face of the community. We need these live people, the 8 representatives we have out there. The community loves them. What they provide at these facilities is invaluable and the face of the county. So we have to continue to provide those 8 people. Let's hire some more 8 people, whatever we need in order to make that the face of the county that they see and they represent the county the way we want them to be represented. That's what we have to think about when we're trying to design this program.
Yes, sir. Commissioner, I completely agree. Right now, we have the Parks and Rec Master Plan, which is in effect, that's actually going to show us what community centers are more utilized, which community centers are underutilized. We also have the GO bonds that have just been approved in which we're going to be doing the North and South Rec Centers. That's what has been discussed internally, is setting aside an event room at those locations. So I'd kind of like to echo what Jamie said, is maybe if we can just suspend the policy for 3 months, so that way we can get some stuff in order for us to better approach this, gather information, and be able to approach this a whole lot better.
I would say suspend it, yes, but you're talking about Christmas.
Yeah.
You're talking about New Year's. And so I would think we might want to, instead of totally suspending it, I think we just want to maybe wrap some real responsible policy around it so that if they do something or they want to have a party, that we can hold them more responsible. I think we can do that, immediately if we just think about it. Say if you're going to have a party, you're going to give me $1,000 deposit, or whatever. You guys have, in my opinion, the authority to do something like that. But if you just suspend it altogether, I don't know. You guys decide.
Why can't we just have them pay for the security? So that way we give them that option. Either I'm sorry, but now we have to have you guys pay for security. And it's up to them. Now we're giving it to them. If you don't have security, you can't have the party. And then that way security will be there at least. I don't know how much security is for, I don't know how many hours, 4 or 5 hours they do?
Typically, we have events that are typically anywhere from about 2 to 5 hours.
Oh,
Yes.
2 to 5 hours? So I guess according to however many hours it takes for, security to be there, I think that's it. You take it or leave it. You get security. If not, I'm sorry, we got to cancel.
Yeah. No, that's something that we can definitely do, is rewrite the policy and present that to the commission.
Instead of having to suspend it all. I mean, I understand what you're coming from, and I think that would be a good idea, but I think, for the people that are already scheduled, I just think we need to give them that consideration at least.
Okay. Not only that, but also we're only making $400 a month off of these centers, so they're not rented out every single weekend. So I would imagine that we'd be able to put together a plan to have a member of facilities go out, we charge a cleaning fee. I mean, they're not rented every single Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
No, a lot of these facilities are rented out. We've actually had to engage with a third-party contractor to go out there and do the cleaning for us.
Okay, so yeah, we're already kind of in that mindset. So I agree with Commissioner Gometos and Commissioner Reynolds. I don't think we can close them down just prematurely right now,
And I think,
especially during the holidays. Kids are going to be out of school for several weeks during the holiday. I don't support that either.
and so there's some of the facilities I've rented in Anthony, what they do, obviously you have to have security there. So we do pay for that. But they have us actually clean up after ourselves. So, security's there, and obviously it's 12 o'clock. All right, 12 o'clock, time to shut it down. And it's part of the understanding that they have to clean the facility. Everything they put up has to come down that night. And so I know we've been there, cleaning up that facility. So then that way, they clean up as much as possible. And then, yeah, seeing about that cleaning fee, that if they don't want to get charged that $175 clean fee, they have to clean up. If there's any remnants left over, then they will be billed $175.
Just FYI, when we had our turkey giveaway and our food giveaway at Betty McKnight about 3 weeks ago, and we did end up using the kitchen a little bit, not much, but I made sure that everything was clean as much as possible when I left. So I took responsibility for that. But we did have several people there. I think we had like over 200 people come and get food through that center. And we had brought all the food in, put it on tables. We moved all the tables. I mean, we really changed the way that center looked, but I think we left it in pretty good shape. Okay, and other people can do that too. It's not that difficult. And what little bit of kitchen stuff that we used wasn't that much. Just make them responsible, that's all. All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys for bringing this up. Thank you for having a conversation. Thank you for listening and for speaking for the community. I appreciate our staff thinking about what they need in all facets of the community. So let's continue to do that.
Sure.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Stephen Lopez, Assistant County Manager. And as you probably heard, if you listened to Scott's wonderful town hall last week, facilities is going to be shifting to the Department of Public Works this month, which means I've got a very vested interest in this topic. So if you can entertain my questions and give me some nods, some thumbs up, or some "that's a stupid idea" comments, it would be very helpful as we move forward. If I'm hearing correctly, I think the commissioners that are present have a desire as we build our new rec centers to have a dedicated rental room or space. Is that something that you all feel we should just put in the base package? We don't need to ask the community about that. We already know there's a need. Just like we know there's a need for bathrooms and stuff like that. Okay. So then we will definitely work that direction.
Event space could be a residential kitchen.
Yep. For the rental, two of the commissioners here, facilities in your district are rented by people that are not residents of Doña County nor residents of New Mexico. Is that something that you feel we should be a little more cognizant of in our future rentals as we start developing policy?
Excuse me, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying the people that are representing the county at these facilities don't live in New Mexico.
Some of the people that rent do not live in New Mexico.
Okay, some of the people renting do not live in New Mexico.
That is correct.
My gut feeling, and I'm not speaking for the other commissioners, my gut feeling is to say that if you're not part of New Mexico, you're not part of Doña County, then we will charge you more to make sure that we are protected. I think we should do that. I think we should put a fee to residents. It's like when you live in the city, you get to use city facilities because you're paying taxes in the city. And if you live outside the city, you might have to pay more to use the facilities. But I think it would be fair for us to state a policy that says if you're a county resident, then you get to use the facility at this responsibility. If you're outside the county, we're going to hold you more responsible and have you even pay more just because we have to clean up for all this if it's not taken care of properly. And since you're not living here, you're not actually paying taxes, to be part of the benefits. So I'm okay with looking at that as a separate way to consider and make sure we're protecting our citizens' investments.
Okay. Any other comments on that?
How do we do that process right now to know whether there's no process?
There's no process, but in driving by the parking lot and all of the Texas license plates are pretty obvious.
Okay, so when the person that comes to apply for this, they have to provide their ID showing that they're...
Right now, we do not require that. So that is something that
So
we
looking forward.
could, if you all tell us that is something we should put in the new policies.
Yes, I definitely say that we need to establish residency within Doña County.
Okay.
And if somebody from Doña County rents it, and we have their ID, and they, show responsibility, tell them that, hey, if you decide that you want to host a party for 5,000 people from Texas, it's going to be on your credit card. So, I mean, I think the policy can easily state that if you are trying to do something that we don't support, then you're going to pay for it.
Okay. If we are putting in rooms, for example, at our new rec centers, those are going to be staffed and much longer hours than our community centers and our resource centers are now, especially those 6 community centers that have no staffing right now. Would the board be supportive of a differentiated rate if people host their event at a staffed location during staffed hours versus they're hosting an event after hours and we need to pay people overtime or bring in additional?
I'm okay with actually charging more if we have to staff them additionally, but I have a concern with you if making a policy that says if you have events during staff hours when the staff's already responsible for something else, I think that that's actually abusing the staff, number one. Number two, it's going to provide a conflict with the facility. So if I've got a class of people coming in to do, let's just say, needlework or something like that, and yet I've got even another room, and it's going to come in and have an event, a private event. Now I've got a staff person that's responsible to keep those separate, number one. Number two, to make sure that their event is not interfering, the private event's not interfering with what the scheduled event is. So I'm gonna have to understand a little bit more about how you're gonna do that, because I can't imagine if we've got something going on at the facility on a regular basis, bringing in a private party that's gonna interrupt that and allowing the staff member to be responsible for both events without some additional help. And I think that's something we have to consider what we would do. So paying for somebody to come in after hours, overtime, to have the event, I think it's going to be a private event, is a much better policy than having a conflict of interest in the same facility at the same time, unless we expand the facilities. That's just my view of it.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Reynolds, thank you for that comment. I think the question's more of our new rec centers, which will be staffed not by HHS personnel solely, but by Parks and Rec staff, who that can be part of their job as we create these positions or we create contracts for operations or whatever.
Now, see, that's a different situation. We're talking about community centers, we're going to have a possible conflict. When we design the rec centers and we design them for private parties and kitchens, as has been mentioned, then that's a whole different ballgame. And then if we do have staff there that's responsible and they know they're responsible for 2 different activities, when we hire them, then yes, I don't have a problem with that. But when we already have events from HHS and community centers, that could be a conflict. I think we have to charge them extra.
Okay.
So currently, staff, HHS staff, they've been there for these events? No? Okay.
Not there for This is Jamie. We're not there for the private rental events where they pay to use the center. We are there with the organizations, the needlepoint, the sewing groups, the other ones. And if some of the youth activities happen in the evening, we're there for that, but not for the private rentals. And when I was talking about putting a pause, it wasn't closing the facility. So I don't want any of our staff to think that I was recommending that, because they are the heart of our department and they are what makes our department successful across the board. It's just the big weddings, the big quinceaneras, those big parties that we need some more parameters around.
So with that, like I said, security. So security, they would have a little, clicker. And so as people are coming in, once they meet cap, I'm sorry, you got to stay out until somebody leaves and then click, you're back in, I think with security, it's going to be a huge difference because now you're going to have somebody that's going to be there, and that's what we need to let security know as well. Hey, you need to be monitoring, making sure that there's no, any alcohol coming in, make sure that capacity doesn't get over full there, making sure that, that there's no destruction, because, people will still bring their alcohol. They can't bring it in, but they're going to have it in their vehicles, right? So they'll go out and they'll drink in their vehicles and then they'll come in. But at least security will be there to, if somebody gets rowdy, crazy, then they can pull them out and say, nope, you're out. You can't come in any longer. I think that's going to help tremendously. But with the rec centers, if we were to have somebody there. So for me, obviously, I think a recreational center should stay open before, much later than 5. I would say like 8 o'clock. Yes, I'm pushing it at 9 o'clock. I think it would be nice, but there are kids that are out there, and they could go there. And so we could probably have somebody come in, from the 8 hours and then hire part-timers for the evening hours. And then, so then that way they kind of stay fully, staffed there. Well, I think security, let security handle that, there. I don't know. I think security should be able to handle that other than, because why would we need a staff member there for those private parties? If they feel like they need people there to help them along the way to utilize things, maybe they should hire a party planner. And that party planner comes in and they do what they need them to do instead of expecting staff to do that. So I don't know.
Great feedback. We're certainly probably a little in the weeds, but these are all things we have to figure out in the next few months. And I'll go back to, again, earlier in my career, if there's things like gymnastics or birthday parties or rentals, they would pay for the staff, the security, and all the necessary fees. So one of the things we have to establish here pretty quickly is the resident versus non-resident conversation, what sort of premium. I've seen 50%, 60%, whatever that looks like. So we'll come back to whether it's the next few months or another work session with suggestions and kind of give you options A, B, and C and see what you all like. Does that make some sense? Okay. Sorry, Stephen.
No, that's perfect. I've just got one last question as we start working this policy and for you. Is there a cutoff time? And are there types of events that we do not want to be associated with?
I don't want any boxing events at these facilities. I mean, like, bare knuckle boxing events. I'm not sure I want anything. There are some things, that I think we want to prevent, but I don't know what they are exactly, except something where somebody could get really hurt, and we know they could get hurt.
Okay.
I think something like that we want to prevent. I think, but what else? I also think we ought to create a policy that says we have the right to deny anything, okay, if we feel like it's a problem. So for instance, if you do apply for a permit to come in or a use to come in and have a bare knuckle boxing match, I mean, we should have the authority as part of our policy to say, yeah, that's not something we want to allow you to do. But in general, I think we should allow almost anything that doesn't create a risk for the community and the citizens, okay?
So let me ask kind of along those lines, recurring events, there are some people who are renting our facilities and they have booked the next year. Nobody else can use them.
I think that those should also be available, provided that if we have a year notice, we've got time to plan. And if other people want to rent the facilities for something else, then if they book them and they put a deposit down, I think they should be able to schedule events out on a monthly basis. I think we should also consider in our rec centers doing leagues, basketball leagues, tennis teams, things like that, whatever we're going to put in there. And that way we encourage the community and the kids to get more active by actually sponsoring events and in leagues like that.
Yeah, and I know kind of everyone stepped out now, so we're just talking, but these are definitely great suggestions and things. As we start our town hall meetings here in about 10 days, we'll be hearing. So we're hoping to hear from the community on what they would like to see in terms of amenities. So if we find out they prefer splash pad or programming type things, and we start getting in the weeds 6 months from now, perhaps on the programming side of it is we get closer to moving dirt and acquiring land and getting into some of the fun stuff. Great thoughts.
I think we should consider. I think we should consider creating a community board, okay, to assist us with this. And basically, again, the thing about vetoing something in the community, I think we should, if we have people in the community to say, we don't want our community centers, hosting, some sort of parties or something like that. I think if we have a couple community members to sit on a board, that we also have some people sitting on to actually help us to determine what community centers should be available for and to police that a little bit. I think that would be nice because that'll be a voice inside and a voice outside the community representing the welfare of everybody in the community. I think that would be just maybe a 2 or 3 or 4 member board from different parts of the community just to help us to understand how they're being used and how they could be used and to help us to get the message out to the citizens that we're still trying to make sure that they have access as much as possible with respectful, responsible use. So I think that inviting the community to be a part of that would help us as well, publicly. I don't know how much, though.
Is there any differentiation, that line led me to another new question. Is there any differentiation between a for-profit event? Somebody wants to hold a concert and charge $50 a ticket, but they're only paying us $250.
Yes. Yes, I think if you're gonna hold an event where you're gonna make money, I think that we should get a percentage. And I think we established it as a percentage.
Yeah, typically, we would look to, in the past, speaking, look to charge a premium for those types of events. And what happens is people are a little misleading, and sometimes we find out in roundabout ways, everything from field checks, seeing it's an organized tournament versus, mom and son throwing a football or something.
I think depending on the event, we should actually ask them for probably a minimum of 25% of the cut, maybe as much as 50, depending on what our liability risk is and what our responsibility are. I think we should try to figure something like that out. If you're gonna do an event at one of our centers and it's gonna be a concert or a competition or something, you're gonna make money, I think we should have some of the money to come back to us as well so we can provide more facilities, more services. Share the responsibility and share the profit.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question specifically for you because your district has wineries.
As what?
Wineries. And we have heard from one winery owner that they've got event space, but sometimes there's a conflict when we allow people to use our facilities well below cost of what they charge, that we're competing with private industry. Any guidance you can give us?
How does that work with the fairgrounds then?
Nobody else has a fairgrounds. And actually, the wineries use the fairgrounds, so
Yeah.
they like it. I just trying to, because as we hit these rec centers, these questions we're anticipating are gonna kind
But
of come up.
we should encourage commerce, but we should also encourage responsible shared benefit. You know what I'm saying? So if they're going to make money, I mean, I think we have to kind of support private companies trying to do the same thing and show that we're gonna take some of that money so we can put it back in the community.
So just with what would happen with the proposed policy changes that were done and published online about no alcoholic beverages allowed on Doña County property?
I think what you all have given us guidance on, and from what I've heard from one of the missing commissioners, is within the limits of the law, alcohol can be allowed and can be safely managed. So that probably needs to be revised, along with a lot of the things that have been discussed this morning. We just need to make sure it's the facilities where we're allowing it, it's appropriate.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge there is, well, the state, if you're gonna have alcohol in a facility, has to be served by someone who's actually licensed to do it.
Correct.
Which means that we also have to make sure that we're not serving minors. So that is where the security comes in. But I think, again, that's all possible, provided we have the right people doing it. And we have a partner that'll actually provide the people we need to run those parties and have them use our resources so we know we're protected. I think there's a way to do it.
So then, and then as far as it goes with fair market rate, we do market rate minus 50%, right? That's what the state allows?
Yes, I will defer to the county manager's comments because I'm not sure we are charging consistent with that. We'll need to review that.
Okay, that works. Anything else, commissioners?
I just want to say that you know, when our community's spoken, like I said, with these bonds, they want us to serve them, can provide better quality of life. And if we approach all these questions and all these opportunities with that in mind, I think that we'll provide what they're looking for. And again, I think we should look for the public to give us feedback and provide a mechanism for them to do that, even if it's just a call in, write in, email address, you know, some sort of website feedback, so we can actually get some information from the community about whether we're doing the right thing or not. I think we should continue to request that input, and then have this board consider that as part of our way of making a decision on how to move forward. So I like that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of like the idea of the community board that you mentioned as well. That might be a really good process. So what's the next step?
I think we have a lot of writing to do for you. Some revising, some department head level meetings that need to take place. I think that community advisory group makes a lot of sense. So we'll need to craft that. And then we'll probably need to identify, at least from the staff perspective, when we think something is handled, you know, the 99% handled at the staff level, but those things that might need to be approved by the board on a case-by-case basis. And I'm thinking just when we talk quality of life, if an event wants to go past 10 or 10:30, and most of our community centers are in residential areas, now we're adversely affecting quality of life of everybody who's not at the party. So maybe in those cases, those come back to you to say, yes, we're approving this event as a one-off, rather than it being a staff decision that you hear about the next day from complaints.
You know, and talking about that, you know, I actually tried to have a revision to our noise ordinance, okay? And if you look at our noise ordinance that it currently stand, the reason we couldn't get it is because of the churches that want to run parties all night long, okay? And so I think we have to go back and look at our noise ordinance, especially in the communities, which clearly states that 80 decibels, I think it is within, you know, 200 feet of somebody's home or something, is a violation of policy. However, it says, but it doesn't take effect until 1 o'clock in the morning. So I think I'd like to have the staff start to think about, you know, what kind of guidelines we're going to have there in the communities to make sure that these events don't actually interfere with the right of the public to watch their own TV, okay? So I think we got a little bit more research to do on that and some more recommendations from the board on how we're going to police something that says you got to shut down at 10 o'clock at night. Well, it's not supported by our noise ordinance.
So we will look to bring this back to you. It's, well, now December, so February at the latest.
Yeah.
Give us enough time to develop some policies, do some research, tie some of this in with the, as you know, we're going through the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We'll be looking to hire a permanent recreation manager here, thanks to you all, come February. So the timing of all this makes a lot of sense and coincides with our town hall meetings as well. So does that sound fair, February? Thank you.
Thank you guys for bringing this up, because this is something we've got to figure this thing out in a way that works for everybody in the community and everybody in the county. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay, next up, we do have indigent care. Welcome, Jamie.
Hello, thank you. I appreciate the conversation around community centers. It's going to be very, very helpful. Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Department. My topic is the Healthcare Assistance Program, formerly known as the Indigent Program, but to be more conscientious of stigma, we want to make sure that we're using the Healthcare Assistance Program. And I'm going to talk to you just about some potential changes going forward. There is a county resolution and state statute that govern the program. So we are looking to make some changes to the county resolution, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Just some ground setting. We want to make sure that everyone understands that this is not insurance coverage. This program just covers some very specific and basic services. These are the services that are listed in the county resolution. So primary care, dental care, behavioral health, end of life, limited physical therapy, and then ambulance transports and cancer treatment at Memorial Medical Center. So again, it's not insurance coverage, and it just covers services with contractors that provide those specific types of services. A little bit of information on the budget, just again to make sure everybody understands the resources that we have dedicated to this. There is a specific increment of the gross receipts tax that is designated for the healthcare assistance program, and that is why the state statute governs how we use these, so they are restricted funds. In fiscal year '24, we had actual expenditures of just over 8.6 million. The Safety Net Care Pool, SNCP, that is money, again, by a state statute that has to go directly to the state of New Mexico to support Medicaid. So each year, we send a portion of our gross receipts tax to the state. In fiscal year '24, that was just over 4.6 million. So of the 8.6, 4.6 went directly to the state. We used the additional 4 million for local contracts, and that, again, was the primary care, dental, ambulance, all of those services. The actual revenue that came in that year was just over 1.9 million, and it did include 1 million from the health fund that the county commission many years ago designated 1 million from the health fund go into the indigent fund each year. So in that particular year, it did leave a balance that contributed to the cash balance of that fund. If we skip forward to the most recent fiscal year, fiscal year '26, we budgeted 11.2 million. We had to send 5 million to the state for the Safety Net Care Pool, and we budgeted 6 million for contracts. That included 3 million for the ambulance, because that's previously what we had paid the city of Las Cruces for ambulance services. The expected budget, the budgeted revenue is 8.5 million. So if our actuals meet our budget, then we will be in a deficit of 2.6 million. But again, the 3 million was for ambulance services, and that was a real loose estimate. There's been a request, and now we are allowed to expand what we can do with these funds. So as a result of House Bill 45, counties are allowed to use their HCAP funding to help people purchase insurance or help people access insurance. So premiums, co-pays, and other out-of-pocket costs to help people. We did some research. There was supposed to be a new product developed by the state that would really help fit this need, kind of like a Medicaid for All or a Medicaid buy-in product, but because of changes in federal funding, the state is not moving forward with that particular program. So the next best thing is the New Mexico Medical Insurance Pool. It's the best option for a lot of reasons. One, because it is full coverage, so it would give people access to the same type of healthcare coverage that a private insurance or a Medicaid recipient would have. There is no citizenship requirement. That's the biggest problem with the exchange, the health exchange. If you're going to purchase insurance on the exchange, you have to have a citizenship. So this does not have that requirement. Because they are a state medical insurance pool, they do have to meet network adequacy requirements. So there are providers in our region that are part of the network. They will cover providers in El Paso because they have to meet the same network adequacy requirements that like Blue Cross Blue Shield or other insurance companies have to meet. They also provide a sliding fee for their premiums, and it's based on the individual's income. So based on your age and your income and which deductible plan you choose, there's a discounts for the premiums, the monthly premiums that people would need to pay to access this. Third-party payers have to pay full premium. So if the county was going to be the payer, we wouldn't get any discount based on the individual's income. We have to pay the full premium. So we asked some questions about that, and we are allowed, let me go back to this, we are allowed to, if the county chooses a voucher program, so If the county is helping me purchase insurance, they can send me the money and I can make the purchase, so I can get the discount based on my income. So using the third party is not going to be very economical, but using the individual's income and getting the discount is much better. Here's just a little bit of data that can help us make some decisions going forward. As of September of this year, we had just over 4,000 people enrolled in the program. May of 2024, we started to see an increase because that's when people were starting to fall off the Medicaid rolls. So since then, we've been seeing a steady increase in the number of people enrolled in the county's program. 35% of that 4,000 are dental only. We allow people with Medicare who do not have dental coverage to access dental services. So they're just enrolled in the dental program. So based on that information, it's most likely that about 35% of the total people enrolled have Medicare. So they don't need full coverage. So again, that leaves close to 3,000 people that most likely have no access to other types of coverage, and that's why they are using the county's program for these services. In fiscal year 25, there were 10,662 medical encounters that we paid for, and about just over 3,000 were primary care. So again, dental is one of the most common encounters that we pay for, but it also includes behavioral health, end of life, some physical therapy. We do not count the encounters with the ambulance service because we paid ambulance services in a different way. It wasn't a fee for service. It also does not include Memorial Medical Center care at the hospital because we don't pay Memorial Medical Center other than cancer care, but for normal other hospital-based services, we do not pay claims to the hospital. They just cover it under their uncompensated care program. So the top diagnosis, when we look at those 3,000 primary care visits, those primary care visits are primarily to Ben Archer, La Clinica, and Amador, the three federally qualified health centers. The top diagnosis codes, why people were going to see their primary care doctor. The top one was hypertension, then immunization. So people were going in to get vaccines, which was nice. And then the last two in the top diagnosis codes are both related to type 2 diabetes. When Norberto did some further research, we have diagnosis codes and we have procedure codes. Really the overwhelming, I guess the majority or the top reason why people are going to see their primary care doctor is definitely related to diabetes or complications with diabetes.
Jamie?
Yes, sir.
You know, my Medicare plan does have some dental coverage, just not a lot. It's not nearly as good as what the county has. So, so some Medicares do have some dental, but not enough to cover anything other than just maintenance.
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds, people do have to purchase an additional part of Medicare, and we could require people to do that. But at this point, if it's not covered under their basic Medicare, then we consider that they're uninsured for that specific service. We also have some qualitative data when we look at gaps, and this is just based on the conversations with local healthcare providers, based on interviews with community members and consumers. Excuse me. So years we have known that there's been a gap in cancer treatment. Excuse me. We do know that the Department of Health has a program for screening and diagnosis, but not for treatment. So once the diagnosis is made, there are very few resources to help people. We know that kidney disease is another gap. There are gaps in access to dialysis. Again, kind of like chemotherapy or cancer treatment, dialysis is an ongoing need that people have, and there have been cases where people just use the emergency department for this. So they get really, really sick, go to the emergency department, have emergency dialysis, they're better. they're released, and then a few months later, their illness has just progressed again. They come back for emergency dialysis. So we know that this is another gap for people across the country. This is not Doña County.
You know, there's a lot of misinformation and ignorance about kidney disease, what the causes are, how it's treated. Just FYI, my brother and my father both had kidney disease. My father had to dialyze 3 times a week for 14 years. So I certainly understand that. Something else that most people probably don't know about kidney disease is the low end of your blood pressure being above 90 is one of the major causes of kidney disease. So if you have a blood pressure 140 over 95, 140 over 100, that 90, anything above 90, long-term will actually cause your kidneys to fail. And I think most people don't realize that. And hypertension actually causes that as well, because it's the hypertension that causes the low side of the blood pressure to go up as well.
Right, a lot of
There's
the,
a lot of misunderstandings and ignorance about that.
yeah, a lot of the heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, it's kind of a cluster of,
It's preventable if you just learn how to deal with stress.
yes.
You know, that's the main thing.
And speaking of prevention, prevention is one of the primary things that our department tries to focus on. We do a lot of public health prevention, but primary care, behavioral health, those are all also preventative. So that's been the focus, is how do you prevent people's illnesses from escalating to the point that they need ongoing care or frequent emergency department. But we also know that there is a gap in high-risk pregnancies. There is some Medicaid funding for pregnancies, but once the baby is born, and it's just a small gap, a few people in a few circumstances, but obviously part of prevention is getting the appropriate medical care early on. So these are some of the areas that we've been working on to try to fill that gap and meet those needs. So some options to be able to utilize the healthcare assistance program to do that. These are some of the options for expansion. As I said earlier, we are able to provide vouchers to assist people with purchasing coverage. We can also, if we do that for all 2,855 people, I think it would cost like upwards of $20 million a year. So we know that we're not going to be able to pay for insurance for all of the folks in the program. So we're looking at, do we create a sliding scale based on income? And I'm going to have Norberto hand out the income guidelines for the healthcare assistance program, because I think it's important for you all to see. These are the income guidelines that allow people to qualify for the county's healthcare assistance program. So they are much higher than Medicaid. So I think we can make some decisions. Yeah, it is surprising, and that is given to us by state statute. That's not something the county can decide. So we can look at a sliding fee scale.
But based on this scale, I qualify.
The other qualification is you have no other access to coverage. So there's several things that qualify you. So Commissioner, if you could not access Medicare, Medicaid, and you didn't have a role where your employer provided you access to insurance, you probably would.
You know, and I think that's important to point out here, especially publicly like this, is to say, yeah, you might fall into the scale, but if you have other resources, you know, then you don't really meet all the requirements. I think that's important to point out.
Correct, yeah. This needs to be the payer of last resort for a lot of reasons. We don't have enough, we don't have $20 million to provide insurance, but we want to direct people to get more ongoing comprehensive care whenever they can. So in addition to us being the payer of last resort and some other eligibility criteria, that's the income criteria. So it would make sense to have a sliding fee scale. So if you're at this, if you're at this end of the income, maybe we cover 75% of your premiums, but if you're at this end, we only cover 25%. So just looking at a sliding scale based on the income would help us reduce that $20 million investment. Also selecting specific chronic illnesses or just selecting chronic illness, because we don't need to insure everyone. We only need to insure people who, or help people get insurance if they have some chronic needs and ongoing health care. And as we think about this, it's also the recommendation to keep the assistance for the existing services. Again, the existing services are more upstream, more prevention, and keeping people healthy is the right thing to do for the population and for the funding for the financial investment in healthcare.
If I understand you correctly, a lot of our focus is actually on prevention as opposed to cure and treatment. Am I right?
A lot of what we currently fund is more about prevention.
Right. And I think that's the right strategy to do that, is try to do more prevention. Something I will, in my opinion, and I'd like to see the statistics on it, you've got cancer here and diabetes, and you don't have kidney disease. And I would believe, in my experience, limited as it is, that it's hard to work when you have cancer, most diagnosis. It is hard to work when you have dialysis that you have to go through for kidney, because if it's 3 times a week, 2 times a week, or if it's the other one where you actually carry a bag. Either way, it's really difficult to work. So but diabetes, you can actually have diabetes and work for the rest of your life and not be, if it's treated properly and managed properly, you can actually still work. So you should have better access to more services. I'd like to think that we want to check the statistics to see which diseases, chronic diseases that are actually debilitating to the point where people can't work, and try to make sure we are, from percentage-wise, we're covering some of that as well, and not just a couple of diseases like these.
No,
two.
you're exactly right. To be more accurate, that should say kidney disease.
Yeah.
And when we just made these 2 examples, it is not everyone who has diabetes or everyone who has kidney disease or even everyone who has cancer. It's people who need treatment, ongoing treatment for
Exactly,
these illnesses. Yes,
And I think we
exactly.
should revisit our how we determine that.
Correct.
And try to make sure that we're providing a service that's absolutely needed by people. And like I said, diabetes. I mean, my mother lived with diabetes for 40 years.
Correct.
And she could work and do everything. Yeah. And a lot of my family have diabetes, and it doesn't affect their work or their ability to find services. However, cancer and dialysis certainly do.
And my grandma did not have diabetes, but needed dialysis for kidney disease, so yes.
So I think we need to let's reframe this in a way to look at it, so we are actually serving what we're intended to service as well. As far as, but prevention, obviously, we can't avoid that. That's got to be done first.
We don't want to lose the prevention. And a lot of this data, this information has come just by talking to different people in the community, different providers. But Commissioner Gameros, I told you, and I haven't been able to schedule it yet, I would like to visit with the medical officers, the chief medical officers at each of those federally qualified health centers to see what they're seeing as the greatest need for the ongoing treatment. And help use that information for us to make decisions, because they see the patients every day and they are the ones who know, like you said, is it rheumatoid arthritis? Is it lupus? What types of illness do they see the biggest gap in their patients? And we can always be flexible. As that changes, we can change. But we do need some parameters, because we can't just provide access to insurance for all the folks enrolled in the program. This last slide here is the New Mexico Medical Insurance Pool. I'm hoping yay. So I just wanted to give you an idea of the premiums that they, okay, now I need help. Thank you. I'm just trying to go to their website. This is the New Mexico Medical Insurance Pool is a private not-for-profit entity that provides just this service. So when no one else, when there's no other access to insurance, this is where people turn. And if I can see here, eligibility. Oh, let me look here. This will be easier for me. You can see here, there's 3 levels. So the income premium programs are based on your income. So I'm just going to choose the 50%, so we're right in the middle. It's also based on what area you live in. So we're going to go to Doña County's area. And I don't know if there's a way to make this bigger. I'm trying. There. Thank you, Billy, for helping me back there. So again, this shows a discounted rate for the premiums that will start next year. And it's also by, whoops, I'm trying to use the mouse now. It's also by age. I can't get this, there we go. So there are 4 different plans. So these are the deductibles, these are the age ranges, and this is the monthly rate. When Norberto did some of the numbers for us, when we got, I think it was $28 million is what you would come up with?
Right, yes.
He looked at the population, the 3,000 people enrolled in the program. He just took the average age and worked that through. And I think you did the highest and lowest plan?
Right, it was,
Yeah.
the average age I used was 45 to 54 years old.
So he took an average age and looked at how much that would cost if we were paying full premiums for people, and it was, that way too much. So that's why we have to figure out another way. But this just gives you an idea of the monthly premiums and how we could come in and say we'll cover a percent of this for you each month. But it is still fairly expensive. So if this is the average age and we want to make sure people don't have a lot of out-of-pocket costs, we would be helping them with the $624 a month. So again, it can't be everyone. I'm just giving the county commissioners examples here. There are different levels of income here. If you all want more information, we can explore this website. Do you all have any questions? That's the end of my presentation.
Hey, Jamie, so for the annual income guidelines, are these state statute driven or is this driven by per county?
State statute driven.
And is it different per county or is this the same throughout the state?
It's the same throughout the state. We have to use, what is it that we have to use?
The Department of Commerce.
Yeah.
And that's written in the legislation.
Wow.
So
That is a
Jamie,
lot.
could you clarify what you meant about vouchers? Is it a check that we would be giving the individual?
Yes, Commissioner Gameros, if we decide to do vouchers, we confirmed with our legal department that we can do that. So let's say your monthly premium is $300. County would send you the $300, and then you would pay the New Mexico Medical Insurance Pool. The medical insurance pool would let us know that you paid, so we know that the money was used appropriately.
Okay, great, that you would be, you'd have that information. And on the breakdown, I know that it was just that, is there any way we can get a breakdown of every type of encounter that they have, that the HQs have? other than just, so I don't know if you've received the template that I made. Did you? Yeah, okay.
For the resolution,
Yes, for the policies and the procedures of this,
Yes.
the healthcare.
and Daniela is helping us with that. Very grateful for her help.
Okay. So on there, I requested some metrics to be given to us. And I know like there's going to be two different type of programs. There's the one that we currently have right now. And so that one definitely, I feel like we need statistics on that to see, what is it that they are seeing, the breakdown of every type of encounter that they're having, other than the hypertension, if it's the flu or this or that. That would be nice to see because we need to start seeing how, kind of getting an idea of what is it that they're seeing over there. Is the county, money going, are we paying what we need to pay, or are we just giving money? Because I don't understand how we're just, I guess it's the alliance, how they're the ones that are deciding which contractor gets how much. So that's where I'm kind of like confused on how they do that.
Okay,
What type of criteria do they use?
let me try to address some of your questions, make sure I'm answering correctly. We have, so here you see the top 4 diagnosis codes for primary care. Every month when we get a bill from our contractors, they give us the person's HCAP number, so we know it's a person that's enrolled in the program, and they give us the diagnosis code and the procedure code. So Norberto has all of that data. So yes, we can tell you exactly what type of procedures, why people went to the doctor. Okay. So we can give you all of that information, and he's done some additional research on that, looking at kind of why are most people going to the doctor? What is the most service that we're paying for? So we can give you that. As far as the contractors that are contracted with us to do these services, other than MMC's cancer treatment, all of the others go through a competitive RFP process, and it's not members of the alliance that evaluate those proposals. So we send out an RFP, we say we're looking for primary care, dental, behavioral health, et cetera. We receive proposals, and for a while, the commission had each commissioner designated someone from their district to come in and evaluate those proposals. That changed a few years ago, so the last time we did this, staff evaluated those proposals. We made this process mirror the regular county process. So we review those proposals, and the contracts are developed based on the proposal and what the agencies told us they can provide for what cost, and then the recommendation from the evaluators. So that's how contracts end up for these services. Once there's a contract, they send us a monthly invoice that has the diagnosis code and procedure codes.
Okay, with that said then, can you explain why some of these HFQs, like I'm going to give you an example, La Clínica, when I had to sit down with Virgil, he told me this is how much we requested, but this is how much we got. So why is it that they get the lesser amount?
So it depends on in their proposal, specifically La Clinica's cost per encounter was less than the others. And when the evaluation committee reviewed the proposals, they were not the top scorer. So they tried to allocate the funding also based on how high the person scored during the evaluation process. Not the person, but the proposal or the agency.
So I would like to see that. I would actually like to see those RFPs and how they're scored and kind of get an idea of what staff is looking at and how they're evaluating that.
We can get that to you. Yeah.
Thanks. So with that said, I know we were discussing this, and so Commissioner Reynolds, this is what I was requesting, not just having specific illnesses on there, because then you're just limiting to those people, right? So the language I wanted to have was some type of like, that they have an ongoing treatment for long-term chronic illnesses that require specialty care.
Actually, I was thinking the same thing, Gloria. I just didn't know how to phrase it in a way to make sure that we have the right one, the right diseases and the right kind of care. That's why I was asking Jamie to actually review the list to try to see where we're going to have the right kind of impact. So you've done it you've got it in a better way than I was able to frame it. Thank you.
I've been working with this for a while already,
I know.
trying to
I know you
get the
have.
language down, so. And also, that, oh my gosh. The slide that has, where you have the primary care, the dental care, yes, those current services. Is there any way also that I can get some statistics on that? How much we're paying for the primary care, how much for dental care, behavioral, for everybody that's out there, all the contractors?
Yes, absolutely. Norberto's team produces an annual report, so we can give you the most recent annual report for this.
Okay, and so it'll give us a number of residents that or people that are actually having those services done. And let me see here. So I was calculating, and I know that Norberto was calculating on, the 2,855 people. But right now, out of all those people, from what I heard, I know you said like there was only one person that actually needed cancer, right? That one person this year was the only one that applied. So for me, I think just keeping all these individuals in the system that they're in right now, the healthcare system, and in the premium care assistance, that I think, I figured maybe like 200 people, like 10% of that. If we were to do that and we were to go at the highest deductible rate and the highest amount, it would be $11,624 a year, and then times 200, that gives us like a $2.3 million. And then, of course, now with this, we just found out, I think our last meeting, that our GRTs are growing up. So, or it was a retreat. So we're going to have money in order to place into this program. And I just want to, let everybody know that as we're doing this, this is going to be this living document, because this is going to be this pilot program that we're going to do. It's not going to be something that's, this is it. I just feel like we're going to be constantly needing to pivot, because we're going to be making changes, because we're going to be the first ones to do this out of all the counties. And so, I just feel that so I don't know if you guys, I know you guys were having a little conversation over there, but if we just took 10% of the 2,800 and some people, I just took 200 people, and we're looking at 2.3 million if we were to pay the highest amount, right, with the highest deductible. So, and then obviously we're going to be getting more money through with the GRTs. So we'll be getting more money into that fund.
And Commissioner, we could also use the sliding fee scale based on the income as well for those 200 people. So if the person makes one end of that scale, we can choose to not cover 100% if.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because the annual maximum amount, yes, definitely. I understand that for individuals that don't have any insurance, that are making money at a higher level, but, the individuals that aren't, this would be a great opportunity for them to have access to healthcare.
Absolutely.
But I do have something to read by Yoli Diaz, and I want to thank her for helping me direct me into this program. Because when I came in, I honestly, I knew about the indigent, but I really didn't know about the indigent care. But she's a great advocate for individuals that have cancer, and mainly she just wants people to have coverage, right? And if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would have been here at this moment. So I thank her. I thank Daniela for helping out as well. She's been a tremendous help in this. And thank you, Jamie and Norberto, for your help as well and being open and flexible to do this. But I'm going to read, I guess, a statement that Yoli would like to read here on her behalf. So she's saying, "Good morning, commissioners, county managers, staff, and public. My name is Yoli Diaz. I think it is vital to clearly define all health services to the indigent and low-income residents of Doña Ana County. If you have a focus of improving the quality of life to the residents of Doña Ana County, please understand that residents that do not have access to needed health care does not improve quality of life. If you do not clearly define that indigent and low-income residents have access to all needed health care, then the message you are sending is that indigent and low-income residents are not deserving of the health care that is available to you and all staff and management of Doña Ana County. 1. Doña Ana County's indigent care resolution needs to be clearly defined in all areas of qualification and healthcare services. 2. Doña Ana County's indigent care resolution needs to clearly define healthcare coverage. The current resolution 2023-68 is written to actually exclude all residents under the section of resolved on page 1 because everyone has access to some type of health coverage. What lacks is the ability to pay for it, hence the indigent. Page 3 of the resolution, E, payer of last resort, adds a level of definition which contradicts the resolved wording, but still needs to be clarified, especially for the residents who are not currently eligible for public insurance. New Mexico Health Insurance Exchange, Medicaid, and Medicare. It's vital to understand that the New Mexico Medical Insurance Pool is not a public insurance, and there needs to be verbiage pertaining to the New Mexico Medical Insurance Pool. It's very important to understand that the 3 methods to qualify for the indigent program requires only one of hardship exemptions or other exemptions or excluded from health exchange, but reword other coverage. The process section needs more work to include data reporting to the BOCC. For one example, reporting at both a half-year mark and at the end year. The resolution needs to clearly define health services of in-county hospitals, safety net care pool hospitals, which are receiving government dollars. The detail needs to include all services they will provide, including diagnostic care. After all, how do you know you have a health condition without diagnostic care? The resolution needs to clearly define the section of contract with cancer treatment providers. There needs to be included clearly defined policy and procedures for patient navigation and care coordination. There also needs to be a care coordinator. And she also wanted to state that this is New Mexico mandated county commissioner responsibility for this indigent care. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're right, Yolanda Diaz planted the seed for the change to the state law and has helped us identify other areas in our training and in the resolution that where gaps exist. And Dr. Neeson as well. They've both helped our department with this work. In addition to just funding, because funding on providing coverage is a big piece, but it's not the only piece of access. So we are working specifically with Memorial Medical Center and trying to set up better processes for referrals. So individually working Memorial with Ben Archer, with Amador, and with La Clinica, just to make those warm handoffs and that referral process easier so people don't get lost in the system. And we're also now working with the Department of Health, their breast and cervical cancer program, their case managers, and Memorial's case managers, so they can help fast track once that screening and diagnosis is done, help fast track that connection to Memorial. So whether the person has insurance or not, there's still a lot of barriers to accessing care and actually getting in and scheduling your appointment, which is difficult for all of us, much less someone who has some additional circumstances in their life. So we are working on other ways other than just the funding way to improve access to care.
Awesome. Jamie, really quickly, I'm going through the state statutes and I am unable to find where this is referenced for the income guidelines. Do you know where that is?
I think it's chapter 24-5.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you find it, if you can just email it to me. I cannot find it
Do you have the state statute up and you just need like the page and the paragraph?
I'm just not finding where it's referenced, but I will
it is
take
a
everyone's word
convoluted
for it right
statute.
now if y'all can just send it to me. And then also, what do they do in Bernalillo County? They don't call it the Healthcare Assistance Program, do they?
Bernalillo County is different. The state statute identifies them as a different type of county. And they have a mill levy and they have the University of New Mexico Hospital. So they do not have the same county healthcare assistance or indigent program because it's not through their gross receipts tax and they have UNM.
Okay, so is that where it's referenced as Bernalillo County off reservation native? No, that's not it.
It says like class, what are the biggest counties?
Class A?
Class A county with the teaching hospital
Got you.
can do this, which is only Bernalillo County.
Got it.
And there, yeah, and then the counties surrounding there, Sandoval, I think Valencia, they're all part of the mill levy.
Yeah, I saw Sandoval's was
Yeah.
different as well. I was
Because they
just
have
trying
access to
compare.
UNM.
Okay. And Sandoval just did something special with theirs, but of course, the news
They're getting a new
article-
hospital. No, that's
Doesn't
Valencia
seem-
County.
Okay, cool. If you can just forward that to me, I'd be really interested in reading
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
And then what does LIHEAP stand for?
I'm sorry, say that again?
LIHEAP.
I'm
Like
sorry,
heap.
I have dyslexia.
It's LIHEAP. LIHEAP. It's an assistance program
For?
for your utilities.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
That was just a bunch of letters jumbled in my brain, so I wasn't getting that at all. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'd like to say that this is a much more complicated situation and issue than we have adequate resources and time to deal with sometimes. And it's been years that we've been talking, working on this, and Yoli certainly been doing it for decades now. And I think it's, we're finally in a position where we can take a closer look at this and having the staff to do it, to try to figure out the right thing to do. And we have some policy, have some state statute now that's actually going to help us with some of the funding and some of the direction. And there's a lot of people who deserve credit on how we got here. But I think it's time that we actually make a plan to go forward and make a difference. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just to kind of set your mind at ease a little bit, other than that 4-county mill levy, Doña County has the most robust healthcare assistance program. Obviously, we have a lot of funding in comparison to some of the much smaller counties. But even in, San Juan, Santa Fe, some of those other counties, ours is really looked at as a standard because we tried to make it as expansive as possible. Years ago, it was a little too expansive, so there was some narrowing. So I think it's time now to kind of find that balance for the program. All right. We will make sure that, and Commissioner Camaros, I really like that language that you talked about. I think that's specific enough that we can enforce it, and it accurately would define and capture the folks that need that ongoing care. So we can work on that. We will get you the most recent annual report, and we will also get you the state statute.
Do you know, just off the top of your head, how much prior to the $3 million we sent to Las Cruces, what we were paying in ambulance costs the year before that? So 2023?
Before it went
2
to
million?
the city of Las Cruces, it was 2.3? 1.2 million annually turned into 3 million.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions? Direction we're gonna go next, besides getting the information from Jamie and Roberto and her team?
What I would like to do is, in maybe the last meeting in January, bring a resolution, the amended resolution back to you all. I don't know if you want a work session in between now and then, but I would like to get the resolution amended as soon as possible.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely would like to see a work session on this with everything that you have, so then that way we get an idea at that work session of everything that you've come up with and all the changes, so we can get all that questioning out there, and in case we need to tweak it still a little bit before you bring it, and then there's less questions, hopefully, when we have to approve it. So yeah, so that way we have a better understanding.
Is this a resolution or an ordinance?
It's a resolution.
I know,
The state statute says by resolution, the commissioners can. So that's why we've always done a resolution.
the only reason I want to keep it as a resolution right now is, like I said, in case we have to pivot and change some language right away. So, and as an ordinance, you know how we have to wait a
Yeah.
month. So I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah.
While this is still an ongoing thing.
Got it,
And
okay.
once we have it down packed, hopefully, then we do an ordinance.
Yeah, wild that that's not an ordinance.
There was, yeah,
Wild.
and for a while, there wasn't even a resolution, so.
I'll take your word for it. Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
All
We'll
right.
look forward to that work session and figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have NM Pool Benefits Summary. Welcome, Steve Maurer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Steve Mauer, Risk Manager for Doña County. We're going to talk about a little bit about the New Mexico Pool Benefits Summaries that we do each year. I've met with the County Manager, Scott, on Monday. Last Monday, we talked about this, and I just wanted to throw some stuff out in front of you. We'll make it short and sweet. The paperwork you have in front of you, it's our 26-year multi-line law enforcement programs. As you can see, we talk about our deductibles and our premiums and everything that they offer for us to apply for and we deal with. If you want to make it short and sweet, we're probably looking at close to about a $300,000 increase in premiums this year. That's not including the discounts that we get for law enforcement for the detention center, which is about $160,000. So we're probably looking at about a $225,000 increase in premiums. Some went up, some went down. If you turn to the next page where it talks about the law enforcement, it does look like it's a $500,000 increase. But we get a 5% discount from the detention center of $160,000 off of that, roughly. So it's not too bad at this point when we go out through the whole process and looking at increases. The next page, we talk about, it's a Class A counties, it's a $1 million by $4 million increase for insurance. They're offering us to have a $1 million excess insurance policy. We have, or I have talked to the county manager, talk about it, and declining that program just because of the fee and cost. Because if you get there and read it through the whole process, we have a $4 million insurance for the pool, and then they're asking us for, if you'd like to buy $1 million for, it looks good for $122,000, but it's actually not. We got to pay 50% of that $1 million. So it talks about the county will share 50% of the cost of that $1 million increase. So we're paying almost $600,000 for $300,000 extra insurance. So that's one of the reasons why we went ahead and declined on that page. And and it went up $18,000 from last year also for what they increased it.
One document showing several plans, but then it shows one to select one, you've got initials next to that one. That's one we're going to select, is what you're recommending?
Yeah, so the one I have with my initials on it are the ones that we're gonna select. And then the one that you guys have with all the numbers on it, that's what I had gone through and started working numbers and seeing how much it was gonna cost us, where we're at, what the benefit was, where we stood at. Because there were some of them that was zeroed out. Some of them were, like on page 1 with the multi-line first-party deductible, it went down $154,000 compared to last year, which they paid $315,000.
Are we still providing more than we're actually claiming every year?
Yeah, in the long run, yes, sir.
Are we running about 39% last time I saw it? 39?
I didn't hear you.
I said last time we were running about 39% of claims against what we were paying for the policy. Are we still at about 30, 40%?
Yes, sir.
So are we still on the path to consider possibly changing our coverage to somebody else?
Yes, we're still looking at doing that process of it. It's, the one thing that's we're running into now is that there's a lot of insurance companies that are not wanting to do law enforcement. And
I think it's worth us talking about a little bit more about this, because the 6 or 7 years I sat on this board.
yes,
I mean, we look back, I provided you with data that showed over the last 15, 20 years that we've actually been providing, let's say, 400,000, but we're only claiming less than 200,000.
yes, sir.
Okay, less than 50%. So the advantage to the county is not that great unless we have a slevin, is it what, a slevin? We have a
Slevin
slevin
case, yes, sir.
claim. I mean, that's what they're basing a lot of this on. The slevin claim actually is something that happened in 2009, where we had, it was just before the governor, the lawyer who went to the governor actually went up there, and Slevin was in detention center, and he was placed in there by the district attorney. However, he was never charged, and he sat there for 2 years. Until finally one day, an officer was walking by him and said, "Hey, why are you here?" And he says, "I don't know." Turns out he would, even though the district attorney, it was 2 years, even though the district attorney had placed him there and had intended to file charges, never filed charges before she went up to become governor. And so when somebody finally asked, he had a lawsuit against the county, which cost us $17 million out of county funds. And they've been holding it against us ever since, even though it drops off after 10 years. And so if you eliminate that claim from our expenses over the last 20 years, we've actually been paying almost twice what we're actually claiming on insurance costs from
Yes, sir.
New Mexico Association of Counties.
Yes.
So, and Stephen can attest to the fact that for the last 3 years, he and I have been talking about the possibility or the probability or even the ability to go out and find another insurance resource that would be more fair. And the way that they do their calculations for reserves is also really messed up, which was pointed out by the previous
manager, yes.
previous risk manager as well. So I think as a county, we need to back up and take a look at this and see what we can do and continue to move forward to try to have them better represent our county with a policy that makes sense for us.
Yes, sir. And we took the first step a couple of years ago. We became self-insured on the workers' comp side of it. So we're working towards that system to go in that direction. So we took that step. Now the next step is, like you say, to go multi-line in law enforcement, self-insured.
Sorry about the distraction and interruption, but yeah.
No, we're good.
Yeah, it's difficult with the way the options they give us is because we end up actually covering the losses for a lot of smaller
All
counties.
counties, yes, sir.
Okay, and this is something that this county, we need to try to work with somebody, figure out a way to get them to treat us better or figure out a way to find different insurance.
Yes, sir. We've been working through that process and dealing with our consultant also for that process. And I'll stand for any other questions or the county manager.
Appreciate the feedback. I know we met the other day, and I think we've covered a lot of the same dialogue we did. Appreciate the recommendations, and it seems justified to everyone. And based off the board not saying much anymore, I think we'll take the win and run with it.
You got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments? Seeing none, we will call this meeting closed at 11:27. Thank you, everyone.